Good evening and welcome to our election coverage here on KPBS Television and Radio. I'm Ebony Monet in the KPBS studios. I'll bring you tonight's results as they come in. We have a crew downtown at Golden Hall. That's Election Central for this evening, where candidates and their supporters are gathering as results come in. Amita Sharma is there with Tony Perry, the former San Diego bureau chief for the Los Angeles Times. They'll bring us analysis of the races tonight. We also have crews around town talking to the candidates. KPBS North County Bureau reporter Allison St. John is at Golden Hall covering some of San Diego County's biggest races. Reporter Eric Anderson is standing by at the Democratic Party's election night headquarters, the Westin Gaslamp Hotel, and reporter Steve Walsh is at the election night headquarters for the Republican Party, the U.S. Grant Hotel. We'll be checking with them throughout the broadcast. Those of you watching us on TV will be able to see a running ticker of results on the bottom of your screen. And you can find more of the latest numbers online at kpbs.org. The site will be updated as we get new information. We are expecting the newest local numbers to come up in just a moment. Let's begin with the race for the White House. At this moment, Donald Trump is within 6 electoral votes of winning the White House. Projections from PBS NewsHour give the Republican nominee 264 electoral votes, with Hillary Clinton at, right now it says 218. Right now, let's go to Golden Hall in downtown San Diego for some analysis with Amita Sharma and Tony Perry. Amita.
Thank you, Ebony. So, Tony, Donald J. Trump appears headed toward winning the presidency. How did the polls get it this wrong?
Boy, did they get it wrong. I guess their methodology could have been wrong. They may have counted the wrong people. I never understood how they could have these polls in the days of cell phones, which aren't listed. I don't know how you get to people. But, yeah, they sure got it wrong. Now, why did they get it wrong? Did people who were polled not tell them that they were voting for Trump?
But there is some precedent for that. I mean, people sometimes don't really say what's in their heart when they're answering questions in polls.
And the polls, certain of them were so very right. 4 years ago, we may have decided that polls are things of the Lord rather than things of man, and therefore quite fallible. But boy, did they get it wrong. And it is astounding. It's incredible. It was possible but improbable, and now it appears to have happened.
How big of a rebuke is a Trump victory to the establishment?
Oh, I think a big one. But of course, it is, as you say, a Trump victory, not necessarily a party victory or a slate or something. It may be a victory that speaks to him and his unique situation in the American political scheme. So I don't know that it rebukes the entire establishment. The Republicans will, as far as we can tell, keep a hold of the Senate, keep a hold of the House, and apparently have the White House also. But a lot of Democratic incumbents were sent back to Washington, so I don't see that it, is a sweep out the rascals movement. It's a sweep in Donald Trump movement.
Now, white men without college degrees appeared to vote for Trump in droves. Why is that?
Well, he had a message that spoke to them, and that is, correctly or incorrectly on the facts, that your jobs are being stolen by these bad global trade deals. Now, the PhDs will tell you that's not quite the case, and that this cry to bring back manufacturing is not going to happen. The steel industry, I was once in the United Steelworkers Union, is gone, and it is not coming back, unfortunately. It went to Sweden and went to Japan and some other places. But that spoke to them. It also spoke to them not just on a specific level, but a more generalized level, that your concerns have not been at the top, that the concerns of Wall Street, we know who gave speeches to Wall Street for a lot of money, that Wall Street cares about that, doesn't care about you, and that spoke to the Rust
Tony,
Belt.
it's concern, but it's also anger. There was a lot of anger in this election.
There is, and he validated that anger. There's always anger out there. It needs validation. It needs somebody to say, you're right to be angry because you've been shafted. And he did that for 18 months, and it apparently has paid off for him. And particularly, as we say, with white men without a college degree, he won white men much larger than Mitt Romney did. And the minority vote, while it went heavily Democratic, did not offset that sufficiently to elect Hillary Clinton.
And global financial markets are down. The Dow futures are down 600 points. How do those markets get calmed now?
Markets are jittery by nature, and they don't like change. She was not change. She was stability. He is change, and we don't know what kind of change. Markets, they will rebound, and also these numbers, these gross numbers look gross, and they are, but percentage-wise of the market turns out to not be that large. The market numbers are real high, so I wouldn't panic quite yet. This is not 1928. We don't know where the markets are going to stabilize, but they will stabilize unless, of course, there are additional actions taken by the new president.
We're going to leave it there, Tony. We'll come back for more. Ebony, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Amitha. We'll be checking in with you very soon. Let's turn now to some of the congressional races we've been watching very closely. In the 49th District, Darrell Issa is the Republican incumbent who's held the seat for 16 years. He's faced a strong challenge from Democrat Doug Applegate, a Marine Corps veteran. Let's look at the votes. Darrell Issa has a slight lead with about 52% of the vote, and Doug Applegate trailing not far behind at 48.2%. This is once again District 49, which includes Camp Pendleton, the largest Marine Corps base in the U.S. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh has been following the congressional races. He is standing by live at the Republican Party's election night headquarters, the U.S. Grant Hotel downtown. Steve?
Well, that's right, Ebony, and things are really people are starting to really come in the door here at the U.S. Grant Hotel as it's really starting to set in just how close the presidential race is going to be. And of course, on the local level, there is a race that was quite a surprise, starting in the primary when Doug Applegate challenged Darrell Issa. Now, keep in mind, Darrell Issa had not really seen a really serious challenger since he'd been in Congress. In fact, he hadn't done a lot of local campaigning. But after that race was close, a lot of money poured into the district. And right now it's still too close to call. I caught up with Doug Applegate a little earlier in the evening, talked to him about why he thought the race was as close as it was.
When I've been out on the street all day, people have been asking me questions about how you're going to change how we solve problems in Washington. And I think people are looking to put country first. I think their hearts are in the right place. And they're dissatisfied with what's gone on in Washington from the perspective of gridlock and putting partisan politics ahead of country.
Basically saying that voters wanted change, both nationally and in the 49th Congressional District that covers parts of San Diego and Orange County. We also caught up with Darrell Issa. We didn't quite get him on camera, but he was bemoaning the amount of money that's been spent in this race. If you've seen the amount of commercials that have come out, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee spent over $2 million alone just on ad buys. Applegate himself raised almost $2 million, and other groups have also been involved. Of course, Darrell Issa is widely considered the most wealthiest man in Congress, and he spent a fair amount of money, and a lot of money came into his race. So at this point, we don't know how this is going to pull out. Right now, it looks a lot like it did in the primary. Very close. But unlike the primary, both candidates are campaigning hard. Back to you, Ebony.
Thank you, Steve. We're also watching the 52nd Congressional District where incumbent Democrat Scott Peters was running against Republican challenger Denise Gitsum. Here are the results so far. Scott Peters leading with 57.5% of the vote. Denise Gitsum at about 43% of the vote. This is District 52, which includes much of Metro San Diego, and Denise Gitsum is a newcomer. Californians also elected a new senator today to replace Barbara Boxer. The Associated Press has called this race for Attorney General Kamala Harris, a Democrat. She beat another Democrat, Loretta Sanchez. San Diego voters were asked to decide on two separate measures regarding a new stadium for the Chargers. Both measures need two-thirds majority to pass. Let's look at the votes so far. The no's leading with 61%, the yes with 39%. with 19% of the precincts reporting. This was Measure C, supported by the Chargers. Now Measure D, the Citizens Plan, the no's at 60%, the yes at 40%. And once again, both of these measures needed 2/3 majority vote to pass, with 19% of the precincts reporting. Now let's take a look now at KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has been covering these stadium initiatives very closely. He joins us now from the Democrats' election headquarters at the Westin Gaslamp Hotel. Eric?
We are at the Westin Hotel in the Gaslamp area, where Democrats have been filling the room up, and then because of some of the national news, they've been leaving a little bit earlier than you might have expected. But in terms of the two ballot measures that were on involving potentially stadiums, the Chargers measure, Measure C, soundly being defeated by the voters, 60-40 roughly in that neighborhood, and the same for the Citizens Plan, which was a little bit more complicated. I talked to Francine Busby, who's the County Democratic Party chair here in San Diego County, about these measures and why they didn't resonate with voters, and here's what she had to say.
I think that the voters made it very clear they do not want to use taxpayer dollars to pay for a billionaire's football stadium. And I think that Measure D is just rather confusing, and I don't think voters totally understood that and just voted against all of it.
San Diego, of course, not very good at passing measures that tax themselves, and that's what both of these measures would have done. Measure C would have raised the hotel tax from 12.5% to 16.5% to raise more than $1 billion for the public contribution for that stadium convention center project. And Measure D, raising the tourist tax, the hotel tax, from 12.5% to 15.5%. It would have changed the way that the tourism marketing district is funded. It would have created some rules for redeveloping the Qualcomm Stadium site if that were to happen, and also limited some expansion of the convention center and some other things. A very complex measure that clearly did not resonate with voters, and both of those measures being soundly defeated at the polls, both requiring quite a number of votes to pass initially. At the Westin Hotel in the Gaslamp Quarter, I'm Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Thank you, Eric. If you're just joining us on KPBS Radio or TV, this is live coverage of Election Night 2016. We're going to turn now to some of the statewide measures on the ballot. One of the most controversial ones was Proposition 64 to legalize recreational marijuana. The Associated Press says that measure has passed. Here are the latest numbers. Yes, 55.8%, and no with about 44% of the vote. This is Prop 64 to legalize recreational marijuana for people 21 years and older. The death penalty was also a controversial issue. There were two death penalty measures on the state ballot. Proposition 62 would repeal it altogether. Here are the latest numbers, with about 54% of the vote no's and 45% of the votes yes, and this is to repeal California's death penalty. The other measure was Prop 66. It would streamline the death penalty process. Yes, so far with 36% of the precincts reporting 51.6%, and no's at about 48% for the death penalty reform. Let's return now to Golden Hall to check in with Amitha Sharma and her guest, Tony Perry. Amitha?
Thank you, Ebony. So, Tony, as you heard, Prop 64, which legalizes recreational use of pot, has passed. This allows people 21 and older to have and use pot. Was this ever at risk of not passing in California?
No, I think the tide of history at this point pretty well said it was going to happen. California was a leader in medical marijuana legalization. It then got kind of gapped by Colorado and Washington in terms of recreational. Now we've caught up with them. A lot of unknowns here. What are we going to do in terms of use by underage? What are we going to do about pulling, the cops going to do about pulling over people who've been toking up?
So let's talk about that.
That's going to be a tough sell.
Doesn't the legalization of recreational pot just basically allow kids to get more access to it if their parents are using it?
Indeed, yeah. When the parents step out, I think the kids are going to do that. Now it's 21 and over, and you can't sell within X number of miles of a school, but that's pretty much a fig leaf, I think. It's going to be a lot of use. And some of the politicians in Colorado who've seen what it has done there, not all of them, but some of them have said, don't. You're going to find skyrocketing drug use among teens.
And what about driving while drugged? How do you ascertain that? How do you assess that?
Very difficult, and the scientists are blazing away even as we speak to find a way to gauge that. It isn't like booze where your blood alcohol is a pretty good indicator. On the other hand, a good traffic cop, if he thinks you're a danger on the road, he can pull you over, and his word in court is going to mean a lot. Now, are they going to do that? I don't know. We're in an untested area. We've done the medical, and that had some problems with it. Now we're going to have, let's call them challenges, and how we're going to accommodate this new recreational vehicle.
So overall, how big of a cultural / sociological shift is this for California?
It's big in one sense, but I guess I have a feeling that one of the kick on marijuana for the high school and college set has always been, hey, it's illegal. Let's toke up and really be daring. Now, not so much. True, underage, and that's still going to be an issue. But it's big, and in one way, and it's going to create a lot of issues for the police. And it's going to be taxed. Now, where's that money going to go? We don't know. Some municipalities, I believe, are not going to allow these stores at all. Some will. So, again, we've seen all of this at the San Diego City Council, for example, on the medical marijuana dispensaries. Who gets them, where, how many, who gets to own them. Now we're going to see on the recreational marijuana dispensaries.
Okay, I want to move on to the U.S. Senate race. Kamala Harris has won Barbara Boxer's seat handily over, 5-term Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez. Loretta Sanchez, despite serving 20 years in Congress, was never able to put a dent in Kamala Harris's lead.
Yeah, Kamala Harris.
I'm sorry, it was a 10-term. 10 terms. 2 years, 10 terms, 20 years. Okay.
You're right. Kamala Harris led from wire to wire, as they say at the Del Mar racetrack. She had a lot of money, for one thing. She was a very good candidate. She's been in office. She had a good base up in Northern California. And she won it. Now, will it make much difference? Her taking over for Boxer? No, not really. 1 out of 100 doesn't make a big difference. One of the things I'm going to be watching is how she approaches Southern California issues. She's from San Francisco. Has been the DA there.
Northern California base.
That's right. How will she look at water issues, for example, where Northern California sees water one way, Southern California another way? That's what I'm going to look for to see, okay, she's there. How's she treating us down here in the South?
So Kamala Harris said she was staunchly in favor of immigration reform. She's now walking into a Senate that is probably going to be a majority of Republicans, as well as a House that will be dominated by Republicans. How does immigration reform get done? Probably
not at all, frankly. The Republicans will still hold, as you say, both houses. It hasn't gotten done so far. I don't see it getting done at this point, as for a Democrat being for comprehensive immigration reform, and that's kind of a word that kind of is a code word for it's not really going to get done. Everybody, all the Democrats are for that.
Okay, we're going to close it there, Tony. We'll be back for more analysis. Back to you, Ebony, in the newsroom.
Thank you, Amitha. We'll be checking in with you later on in just a few minutes. We now have an update on the presidential race. The latest count gives Republican Donald Trump 269 electoral college votes, just 1 short of what he needs to win. Hillary Clinton has 218. The Clinton campaign says she will not make a statement tonight. We are waiting to see if Trump addresses supporters during this hour. Let's take a look now at some of the other statewide ballot measures. Voters approved a measure to extend an income tax on the wealthiest Californians. Prop 55 affects those who make more than $250,000 a year. It was set to expire this year, and analysts say it impacts about 1.5% of California's population. Let's take a look at the numbers right now. The yes with 62% of the vote, and the no with about 38% of the vote to extend Prop 30 for the wealthiest Californians. Voters have also approved an increase of the tobacco tax. Cigarettes will go up to $2 a pack under Proposition by $2 a pack under Proposition 56. The tobacco tax is now $2.87. The yes votes with 62%, the no votes with 38% for Prop 56, the tobacco tax increase, and that's with 40% of precincts reporting. Proposition 63 would put new restrictions on buying ammunition. That measure has passed with 63% of the votes yes and 37% of the votes no. And that's Prop 63 for gun control here in California. Proposition 67 is a proposed statewide ban on single-use plastic bags. The yes votes 52%, the no votes with 48%, with 40% of the precincts reporting, and this is the ban on plastic bags, Prop 67. This is live election night coverage on KPBS television and radio. I'm Ebony Monet. We're going to turn now to the latest returns in some countywide elections. Measure A is a proposed half-cent sales tax increase for infrastructure and water quality. It needs 2/3 majority to pass, but it's falling short. Yes, 57%, no, 43%, with 35% of the precincts reporting, as well as some of the mail-in ballots. County voters were asked to decide the fate of a major North County development. A yes vote on Measure B would override the county's general plan and allow 1,700 homes near Valley Center. At this point, the measure is failing. No, with 64%, yes, with 36%. This is the Lilac Hills development with 35% of the precincts reporting. The 3rd district seat for the Board of Supervisors has Democratic incumbent Dave Roberts running against Encinitas Mayor Kristen Gaspar, who is a Republican. Here are the numbers so far. With 35% of the precincts reporting, Roberts in the lead, 51% over Gaspar, 48%. This has been a very tight race during the primary. Roberts pulled ahead with 39% and Gaspar had 33%. So very tight race, as it still is, with 35% of precincts reporting. That district has recently flipped to majority Democrats registered. We're going to check back in now with our KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John, who is standing by in Golden Hall. Allison?
Ebony, yes, I'm here in Golden Hall. Things are a little quieter now, but they were pretty busy earlier on, I have to tell you. And the 3rd supervisorial district race, yes, has been very closely watched because the incumbent, Dave Roberts, is the only Democrat on the board. Now, incumbency usually gives you a big advantage, but in this case, Dave Roberts had some management problems last year, and his opponents raised a lot of money, a great deal more money than he raised, to defeat him. However, at the moment, it looks like he is in the lead, and I have Dave Roberts live with me. Dave Roberts, Supervisor Roberts, why do you think it is that in spite of all the money, you are in the lead?
Well, I think that the voters responded to my positive message, focused on the issues that they really cared about. And despite all the money that flowed into my opponent's campaign war chest, they couldn't distort my record of delivering results that matter.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the point, the policies that you've been pursuing that have convinced voters?
Well, I think some of the things they really cared about, quality of life issues. I worked to keep Palomar Forensic Health Center in Escondido open. It was extremely important. Making sure that we have open space. You know, we kept Webb Lake from being paved over. We've preserved over 5,600 acres of open space. We've expanded San Dieguito River Park, the San Alejo Lagoon, the Escondido Creek watershed. These are things that people really care about. We've expanded mental health services. We added psychiatric emergency response teams. These are the types of services that counties delivered. I've worked with my 4 colleagues in a collaborative fashion, and I really think that's what resonated with the voters.
Thank you very much. That's Supervisor Dave Roberts.
Thank you.
We should mention that Kristen Gaspar was around here a little earlier, and she has, at the moment, appears to be trailing in spite of having raised more than Supervisor Roberts and in spite of having had possibly $700,000 worth of TV ads spent in her favor. She told me why she thinks she's not in the lead at this point.
Well, name ID has a lot to do with things, especially in a race like this. I mean, you're thinking about an incumbent. No incumbent supervisor has fallen since before I was even born. So this would be obviously something very historic. We plan on it being a tight race.
Okay, so it does seem like there might be a little shift as the evening goes on, but at this point it looks like Dave Roberts is going to keep his seat. Live in Golden Hall, back to you, Ebony.
Thank you, Allison. Let's take a look now at a couple of races here in the city of San Diego. In San Diego, City Council District 9, Ricardo Flores and Georgette Gomez are running for the open council seat there. Both are Democrats. Flores is the chief of staff to the current District 9 Councilwoman Marty Emerald. Gomez is a member of the City Heights Community Planning Group. Here are the latest numbers, with Flores in the lead at 53% and Gomez trailing at 47.2%. This is with 20% of the precincts reporting and some of those mail-in ballots as well. San Diegans also chose a new city attorney today. Democrat Mara Elliott was running against Republican Robert Hickey, and here is the latest. Elliott in the lead, 58%. Hickey, 42%. This is with 29% of the precincts reporting and mail-in ballots. Measure K would change city election rules requiring a November runoff for city elections. And here are the results so far. Leading yes votes with 58%, no with 43%, and Measure K would change elections here in San Diego, and that's with 29% of the precincts reporting. Measure K could have an impact on the balance of power on the city council. For a look at that, we go to KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen in the newsroom. Andrew?
Hi, Ebony. Well, a quick reminder on what Measure K does. Measure K would force a November runoffs between all city candidates in elections. So that would be mayor, city council, and city attorney. Currently, they can win outright in a June election if they get more than 50% of the vote. There's also a sister measure on the ballot, Measure L, which would require most citizens' initiatives and referenda to be voted on in November, not in June. So both of these are an attempt to shift more power from the June elections into November. Both appear to be winning very easily with double-digit margins. There are still certainly a lot of votes to be counted, but a lot of support for these measures. And the campaign supporting these measures basically said that we know more voters are going to turn out in November, so the biggest decisions in our city should be made then, when we elect our mayor and our city council. And they said that June elections can be basically bought by special interests because there's typically a much lower voter turnout. It's also worth noting that not only is voter turnout higher in November, it also tends to be more progressive. And that's why support for these measures was pretty much universally from Democrats and labor organizations. Opponents to these measures were pretty much universally Republicans and conservative groups. And they sort of gave up arguing against the policies themselves within these measures. Instead, they said that they were rushed, that they were not properly legally vetted by the city attorney's office, and that they are not the best solution for fixing San Diego's elections, if there is even a problem at all. It's also worth noting that the Yes campaign raised more than $1 million in this campaign, and they spent very heavily on ads, on TV, on campaign mailers. The No campaign raised just about a fifth of that money, and they spent a little bit on polling this summer, and then the rest of the money pretty much just sat in the bank. So that kind of suggests that the No, or the opponents to measures K and L, kind of saw the writing on the wall and gave up mounting a serious campaign. But these measures both appear to be passing very easily. Not a big surprise, but definitely a very big change to how city elections are decided, and that will be taking effect in the next elections in 2018. Reporting in the KPBS newsroom, Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Metro reporter Andrew Bowen, thank you very much. This is live coverage of Election Night 2016 on KPBS Radio and Television. I'm Ebony Monet. While we're waiting for the next set of state and local results, let's recap tonight's biggest race for the White House. It's been a big night for Republican Donald Trump. At this hour, he's got 269 electoral votes. We are expecting him to speak shortly, and we will bring you that when it happens. And to recap the standing on some of the biggest races we're following, Republican Congressman Darrell Issa is behind Democratic challenger Doug Applegate. San Diego's two stadium measures are both failing, and California voters have voted to legalize recreational marijuana. That's the tally about as of 30 minutes ago. New numbers will be coming in just a few moments. Let's check in again with KPBS reporter Steve Walsh at the local GOP election night headquarters at the U.S. Grant Hotel. Steve?
Well, thanks, Ebony. Yeah, we're here at the U.S. Grant Hotel in downtown San Diego. And we're still seeing people starting to fill in here. They're surrounding the television screens around here, trying to watch the last of the presidential election here, trying to see whether or not Donald Trump is going to get to 270 within minutes. In a lot of ways, this is a surprise for local Republicans. They were not expecting a lot out of the general election. They didn't really have a dog in the fight when it came to the U.S. Senate race, replacing Barbara Boxer. They'd already had a win in the mayor's race with Kevin Faulconer winning in the primary. So there weren't as many races on the table, really, for Republicans until, of course, this happened. Now, even though it was somewhat of a surprise, I actually got a chance to talk with former governor and former San Diego mayor Pete Wilson. He said, he was surprised by the results, but he said he was not shocked.
Well, I think that whatever their differences, they saw the need for change, the need for people to be responsive, and he sounded that call very clearly. Will he get everything that he wants? No president does. But I think that what he has done is make clear that what was happening in the country, whether we're talking about domestic economic policy and jobs or foreign policy, and the threat that we face from Putin, from the Chinese, from Tehran, all of those have been inadequately answered by the Obama administration, and Hillary would have been more of the same.
So Governor Wilson, back in the 90s, was famous for Prop 184, which looked at illegal immigration. Many people say that led to a shift of the Latino vote towards Democrats and away from Republicans. I asked him whether or not he thought Donald Trump would eventually be able to build a wall and get Mexico to pay for it. And he said, well, he wasn't sure that any of these things would happen. But again, this was a night of change here. I talked with Tony Kavarik, who's the head of the San Diego Republican Party, and he said that everyone is kind of a little bit stunned, trying to figure out how all of this is going to work. You have many Republicans here who supported NAFTA. They were very big supporters, including Darrell Issa. When I talked with Darrell Issa briefly, he said that if he's returned to Congress, he's going to fight for free trade. So there are a lot of things that have to be worked out, a lot of answers, but right now it's a pretty happy atmosphere over here at the U.S. Grand Hotel. We're seeing more people with Make America Great hats on here. We're seeing a lot of balloons. So at the moment, there's a jubilation at the U.S. Grand Hotel. Back to you, Ebony.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to update you tonight on the presidential election. The Associated Press has called the race for Republican candidate Donald Trump. We are waiting for him to address his supporters this evening. As soon as he does, we will bring that right to you. We are still waiting for the latest local and state returns to be released. And while we wait, let's go back to Election Central at Golden Hall to check in with Amitha Sharma and Tony Perry, the former San Diego bureau chief for the Los Angeles Times. Amitha?
Thank you, Ebony. Tony, it looks like Donald Trump has been called the winner of the presidency. Trump tore apart conventional wisdom on how to win the White House. He did it his way. He didn't care one iota about alienating large swaths of potential voters, potential constituents, Latinos, African Americans, Muslims. He did that as a candidate. Can he lead the country that way?
Probably not. No. They say you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. In other words, a lot more subdued. I think he's going to have to be a little more subdued. He's going to find it's hard to get things done in Congress just by bluster and calling people names and running around and doing great speeches that get the crowd, all fired up. The folks say this was a year for change, and people wanted change. Hillary Clinton, regardless of her record, did not represent change. She represented stability and a continuation of what had been going on with the Obama administration. That was the card she played in the last 72 hours, and she got rejected. The people have spoken apparently, and now we're going to see. I'll be interested to see when that wall goes up. I'll be interested to see what Donald has to say, the president has to say about how we're going to defeat ISIS. He claims to have a way to do it better than the generals. Let's find out.
Well, now, you talked about the people's desire for change. What's the Comey effect here? FBI Director James Comey announced more than a week ago that he was reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Then he announces on Sunday that he found nothing. But millions of people voted in that time. How big of an effect do you think that had on this race?
Presumably, it had an enormous effect, although the polls, again, these polls that were wrong in the gross nature, claim that didn't occur, that people wouldn't admit that it changed how they were going to vote. Again, we're going to have to find out. There are going to be so many books written about this campaign. We're going to need a forklift to lift them all, and a lot of them are going to deal with the Comey effect, the FBI breaking tradition to talk about an ongoing investigation.
Well, so there'll be books written also on the impact on the Republican Party. Trump is a Republican. Isn't his win a slap to the wing of the Republican Party that didn't support him?
In one sense it is. I think it is a slap to the sort of establishment wing, the academics, the deep thinkers, George Will, for example, who felt that they sort of owned the conservative wing of the Republican Party. Apparently not. Apparently there are people who don't subscribe to their theory. Remember, almost all the establishment, if you will, conservatives were against Trump. And a lot of the newspapers, our local newspaper, which hadn't gone for a Democrat in a century and a half or something, went for Hillary.
Right. So those establishment Republicans, do they rally behind him now, or do they hold true to their convictions? And if they do, will there be a civil war in the Republican Party?
Well, I think there's a civil war in both parties, frankly, after Bernie Sanders was so successful in the primary, and he pulled Hillary Clinton, apparently not far enough or fast enough, over to his side. I think there's a war in both of them. There'll be coordination between the two, but we're at stalemate anyway. We've been at stalemate in Washington for a long time, so I think we'll continue to be at stalemate, just a little different in terms of what is being said. It's going to be interesting to see who he names to his cabinet. Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich. Let's find out. Chris Christie. It's going to be a wild. When you think tonight's wild, the next year certainly is going to be just as wild.
And we will be watching. That's all for now. We'll be back more for your analysis. Ebony, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Amitha. We have just received new returns from the San Diego County Registrar of Voters. The new tally for Measure C, the Charger Stadium Initiative: 60% no, with about 40% yes. It needed 2/3 majority vote to pass. This is Measure C, backed by the Chargers, with 29% of the precincts reporting. This would have increased the hotel occupancy tax by 6% to 16.5% to build a city-owned downtown football stadium and convention center. The other stadium issue on the San Diego ballot was Measure D, the Citizens Plan. It would also increase the hotel tax, but those funds could not be used for a stadium. They could only be used for a convention center expansion. This one also needed 2/3 vote to pass. No, 60%, yes, 40% for Measure D, the Citizens Plan. Let's check back in with Eric Anderson at the local Democratic Party's election night headquarters, the Westin Gaslamp Hotel. Eric?
We are at the Westin Gaslamp Hotel, and as you can imagine, in light of the national results, this room is becoming emptier and emptier as the evening goes on. Not a lot of people left here. There were quite a few people here just an hour ago, but as the national news came in, things looked a little bit more pessimistic for those who came here to celebrate with Democratic Party faithful. Now, earlier when I had a chance to talk to Francine Busby, the San Diego Democratic Party chair, she was looking rather optimistically at some of the pre-election numbers for the Democratic side, and particularly the increase in registered Democratic voters. Here's what she had to say.
I think Trump had a huge effect in San Diego. We have a diverse population. We have a large Latino population. People who have been eligible to register to vote for decades never voted. And they turned out and they wanted to vote in this race, and they're voting Democratic.
And of course, now when we look at the result totals that are coming in, we're seeing that nationally, it's kind of really put a wet blanket on the party here at the Democratic Party headquarters at the Westin Hotel. And the big question that's out there in terms of Measure C and Measure D is what happens next. Does this mean that the Chargers are going to pack their bags and move up to Los Angeles? That's something that Dean Spanos, the owner of the team, did not talk about before tonight, and it's something that hopefully he'll talk about in a day or two when he has a chance to look at how these numbers turned out. Live at the Westin Hotel in the Gaslamp Quarter, Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Thank you, Eric. This is continuing coverage of Election Night 2016 here on KPBS Radio and Television. I'm Ebony Monet. There are some congressional races we've been watching very closely. Republican Darrell Issa faced a strong challenge from Democrat Doug Applegate in the 49th District. Here are the numbers, with Issa in the lead with about 52% and Applegate trailing not too far behind at 48.5%. This is with 31% of the precincts reporting and some of those mail-in ballots. We've also been watching the results in District 52, where incumbent Democrat Scott Peters faced Republican Denise Gitsum. Peters, 57% of the votes. Newcomer Gitsum with 43% of the votes. This is for District 52, with 30% of the precincts reporting. Californians also had to choose a new senator today to replace Barbara Boxer. Democratic Attorney General Kamala Harris is the winner in that race over Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez. Harris, 65% of the vote over Sanchez's 35% of the vote for the U.S. Senate seat being vacated by Boxer. Let's look now at some of the updated results in the statewide ballot races. California voters have approved recreational marijuana. The latest vote count for Proposition 64 shows yes with 56% and no with 44%. Legalizing recreational marijuana for people 21 years and older. We've also got updated numbers on 2 death penalty measures. Proposition 62 would repeal the death penalty. The no's leading with 55% of the vote, the yes with 46% of the vote. This is for to repeal California's death penalty. Proposition 66 calls for changes in the death penalty to streamline the process that supporters say is broken. The yes with 51% of the vote and the no's with 49% of the votes. This is with 44% of the precincts reporting. Voters also weighed in on new restrictions on ammunition. That was Proposition 63. The yes votes with 63%, the no's with 37% for Prop 63, the gun control measure, reporting 44% of the precincts right now. Let's head back now to Golden Hall to check in with Amitha Sharma and Tony Perry. Amitha?
Thank you, Ebony. Measure C. The idea to build the Chargers a new stadium has gone down. It required a 2/3 majority. It couldn't even get 50%. Despite the backing of Mayor Kevin Faulconer and Philip Rivers, what happened?
Well, San Diegans don't like to pay taxes, and they don't like even when other people are going to pay them. This would have upped the bed tax in hotels in certain areas. Also, frankly, Dean Spanos, the owner of the Chargers, very unpopular in San Diego, and so you add two of those. You add the anti-tax and the fact that a sports team owner, generally speaking, they aren't popular across the country with some exceptions.
But why wasn't the backing of Faulconer and Philip Rivers enough?
Well, Philip is one of the great quarterbacks of all time, and I hope he has many more seasons with us. He is not a municipal finance specialist. That's just, he knows how to throw a touchdown pass to Antonio Gates, and I hope he throws many more. But I don't look to him for my political viewpoints. Kevin Faulconer waited, and it was mild, and he didn't really get out there.
We're waiting for Trump to give his victory speech, so go ahead. We just might have to cut away.
Nobody else on the council was for the stadium. Now we're going to have to go back. I think Jerry Sanders or someone, if they want the Chargers to stay, are going to have to take Dean Spanos to the mountaintop and say, let's work. Let's see if we can get Mission Valley, which has support. We'll see.
So the Chargers have until January on exercising their option to move to Los Angeles and join the Rams. Will they do it?
The sports writers seem to say no, that it would cost, $650 million you have to buy your way out from the NFL. Then you may have to buy a piece of the ownership of that stadium that Stan Kroenke, the owner of the now Los Angeles Rams, is building. And then you'd have to be his tenant. And also A.J. Smith is being quoted, the former Chargers exec, being quoted all over town as saying, the NFL really, really does not want the Chargers to leave. So the deep thinkers on the sports desk seem to think, no, he is not going. And so the question is, can he be made to soothe his hurt feelings and accept the idea that a Qualcomm site, a Mission Valley site, is the way to go, that the downtown establishment, including the hotel industry, including the council and the tourism industry and the convention center board, are never going to buy off on that downtown site. Let's talk Mission Valley, which was the city's proposal. Let's see if we can soothe his feathers and get it done.
We're going to wrap it there. Ebony, back to you in the studio.
Amitha, thank you. We'll be checking in with you a bit later. Let's take a look now at some other measures on the statewide ballot. Proposition 55 extends an income tax on the wealthiest people in the state to fund education. Voters have approved it. 61.8% no's, 38.2%. This is to extend Prop 30, which would have expired this year, which taxes the wealthiest Californians earning more than $250,000. This is with 44% of the precincts reporting. And voters have approved a measure to raise the tobacco tax by $2 a pack for cigarettes. That was Proposition 56. This also extends to e-cigarettes, electronic cigarettes. The yes votes at 63%, the no votes at 38%. And here are the latest numbers on Proposition 67, a statewide ban on single-use plastic bags. Yes at 52%, no's trailing at 48%. You can find all of the statewide initiative results on our website at kpbs.org. This is live coverage of Election Night 2016 on KPBS Radio and Television. I'm Ebony Monet. There was a tax measure on the county-wide ballot in the San Diego Association of Governments. We're going to go now to Donald Trump and Mike Pence taking the stage right now to address supporters.
Stunned the political world, stunned, I think, the country. Even the people who were supporting Donald Trump did not expect him to win, but here he is. And we will now hear what he has to say.
soaking
Donald
it
Trump,
in, and rightfully so.
soaking it
It's
in,
his
as
night.
we all are, and he steps across the stage, followed by family, extended family, and well, I think the line is long enough that there are probably supporters, people who were with him on the campaign trail there as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated. Thank you very much. I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard. Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely. Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. Have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. Time. I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me. For those who have chosen not to support me in the past, of which there were a few people, I'm reaching out to you for your guidance and your help so that we can work together and unify our great country. As I've said from the beginning, ours was not a campaign, but rather an incredible and great movement made up of millions of hardworking men and women who love their country and want a better, brighter future for themselves and for their family. It's a movement comprised of Americans from all races, religions, backgrounds, and beliefs who want and expect our government to serve the people, and serve the people it will. Working together, we will begin the urgent task of rebuilding our nation and renewing the American dream. I've spent my entire life in business looking at the untapped potential in projects and in people all over the world. That is now what I want to do for our country. Tremendous potential. I've gotten to know our country so well. Tremendous potential. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Every single American will have the opportunity to realize his or her fullest potential. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. We are going to fix our inner cities and rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure, which will become, by the way, second to none. And we will put millions of our people to work as we rebuild it. We will also finally take care of our great veterans. who've been so loyal, and I've gotten to know so many over this 18-month journey. The time I've spent with them during this campaign has been among my greatest honors. Our veterans are incredible people. We will embark upon a project of national growth and renewal. I will harness the creative talents of our people, and we will call upon the best and brightest to leverage their tremendous talent for the benefit of all. It's going to happen. We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world. At the same time, we will get along with all other nations willing to get along with us. We will be. We'll have great relationships. We expect to have great relationships. No dream is too big. No challenge is too great. Nothing we want for our future is beyond our reach. America will no longer settle for anything less than the best. We must reclaim our country's destiny and dream big and bold and daring. We have to do that. We're going to dream of things for our country, and beautiful things and successful things once again. I want to tell the world community that while we will always put America's interests first, we will deal fairly with everyone, all people and all other nations. We will seek common ground, not hostility, partnership, not conflict. And now, I'd like to take this moment to thank some of the people who really helped me with this, what they are calling tonight, very, very historic victory. First, I want to thank my parents, who I know are looking down on me right now. Great people. I've learned so much from them. They were wonderful in every regard. I had truly great parents. I also want to thank my sisters, Marianne and Elizabeth, who are here with us tonight. And where are they? They're here someplace. They're very shy, actually. And my brother Robert, my great friend. Where is Robert? Where is Robert? My brother Robert. And they should all be on this stage, but that's okay. They are great. And also my late brother, Fred, great guy, fantastic guy. Fantastic family. I was very lucky. Great brothers, sisters, great, unbelievable parents. To Melania and Don, and Ivanka, and Eric, and Tiffany, and Barron. I love you and I thank you, and especially for putting up with all of those hours. This was tough. This was tough. This political stuff is nasty and it's tough. So I want to thank my family very much. Really fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you all. And Lara, unbelievable job. Unbelievable. Vanessa, thank you. Thank you very much. What a great group. You've all given me such incredible support, and I will tell you that we have a large group of people. You know, they kept saying we have a small staff. Not so small. Look at all the people that we have. Look at all of these people. And Kellyanne, and Chris, and Rudy, and Steve, and David. We have got tremendously talented people up here, and I want to tell you, it's been very, very special. I want to give a very special thanks to our former mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He traveled with us, and he went through meetings. And see that, Rudy? Never changes. Where's Rudy? Where is he? Rudy. Governor Chris Christie, folks, was unbelievable. Thank you, Chris. The first man first senator, first major politician. And let me tell you, he is highly respected in Washington because he's as smart as you get. Senator Jeff Sessions. Where's Jeff? Great man. Another great man, very tough competitor. He was not easy. He was not easy. Who is that? Is that the mayor that showed up? Is that Rudy? Oh, Rudy got up here. Another great man who has been really a friend to me.
Welcome to the program on Election Day. We turn not to the results of the election, but we turn to the challenge facing the next
Democrats. Dr. Ben Carson. Where's Ben? Where is Ben? And by the way, Mike Huckabee is here someplace, and he is fantastic. Mike and his family, Sarah, thank you very much. General Mike Flynn. Where is Mike? And General Kellogg. We have over 200 generals and admirals that have endorsed our campaign. And they're special people, and it's really an honor. We have 22 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. We have just tremendous people. A very special person who believed me, and, you know, I'd read reports that I wasn't getting along with him. I never had a bad second with him. He's an unbelievable star. He is, that's right, how did you possibly guess? So let me tell you about Reince. And I've said this. I said Reince, and I know it. Look at all those people over there. I know it. Reince is a superstar. But I said, they can't call you a superstar, Reince, unless we win. Because you can't be called a superstar like Secretariat. If Secretariat came in second, Secretariat would not have that big, beautiful bronze bus at the track at Belmont. But I'll tell you, Reince is really a star. And he is the hardest working guy. And in a certain way, I did this. Reince, come up here. Where is Reince? Get over here, Reince. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's about time you did this, Reince. Huh? My guy. Yeah, say a few words. Come on. Say something.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you. It's been an honor. God bless. Thank God.
Amazing guy. Our partnership with the RNC was so important to the success and what we've done. So I also have to say I've gotten to know some incredible people, the Secret Service people. They're tough, and they're smart, and they're sharp, and I don't want to mess around with them, I can tell you. And when I want to go and wave to a big group of people and they rip me down and put me back down in the seat. But they are fantastic people, so I want to thank the Secret Service. And law enforcement in New York City, they're here tonight. These are spectacular people, sometimes underappreciated, unfortunately. But we appreciate them. We know what they go through. So it's been what they call a historic event. But to be really historic, we have to do a great job. And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job. We will do a great job. I look very much forward to being your president. And hopefully at the end of 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or maybe even 8 years, you will say, so many of you worked so hard for us, but you will say that that was something that you really were very proud to do, and I can thank you very much. And I can only say that while the campaign is over, our work on this movement is now really just beginning. We're going to get to work immediately for the American people. And we're going to be doing a job that hopefully you'll be so proud of your president. You'll be so proud. Again, it's my honor. It was an amazing evening. It's been an amazing 2-year period. And I love this country. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to Mike Pence. Thank you, everybody.
Donald Trump accepting the congratulations of a crowd there in New York City, telling them.
We have just heard from President-elect Donald Trump. He promised to mend a divided country. He also spoke to supporters in the country about supporting veterans and fixing the inner city. And he also talked about bringing his business sense to the presidency and creating the strongest economy in the world. Well, this is the end of our broadcast coverage for tonight on KPBS radio and television, but you can still find updated results on our website, kpbs.org/election. We will put the new numbers up online as they come in. Join us on the radio for all of the reactions and analysis of the national, state, and local races on Morning Edition starting at 5 a.m. and then at noon on Midday Edition with Maureen Cavanaugh and her guest, who will take a deep dive on major local and state results. I'm Ebony Monet in the KPBS studios. From all of us here at KPBS, thank you for joining us and have a great night.